Hello, and welcome to this video that has the answers to the Functional Skills Maths Practice Paper 6 at Level 2. We're going to do Section A first, where there's 25 minutes available and there are 15 marks on offer. Please remember not to use a calculator in this section. Let's start with question 1. What is 2/3 as a percentage? Give your answer rounded to 2 decimal places. So you may remember from the classroom that 1/3 is 0.3 recurring. So 2/3, if you can remember it, is 0.6 recurring. 0.6 recurring means 0.66666 forever. Now, if we're turning it into a percentage, we need to multiply it by 100. We end up with 66.66666 and so on. Now, because we're rounding it to 2 decimal places, we need to cut it off here. So concentrate on this number and look at the next one along to decide what to do. So the 6 is followed by a 6, so it rounds up to a 7. So our answer is 66.67%, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 2. What is 14% of 200? Well, our 10% rule says that it's worth 20. Now we use our 1% rule. Again, divide by 10 gives us 2. We haven't got 1%, we've got 4%. So multiply it by 4 and we end up with 8. So our 14% is made up of our 10% and our 4%, which is 28. So the answer on the answer line is 28, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 3. 2.5 plus 3 3/4. Now, remember what we said in class about denominators with 2's and 4's? We can use our time method. So if we're at 2:30 and we add 3 hours, we end up at 5:30. Now, if you add half an hour, that takes us to 6 o'clock, and then that leaves a quarter of an hour out of our 3/4 to add. So we end up at 6 1/4. So really quickly, we've arrived at our answer C, which is 6 1/4, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 4. What is 75 as a fraction of 125? Give your answer in its simplest form. So looking at the two numbers, they both divide by 5. So 75 divided by 5 gives us 15. And 125 divided by 5 gives us 25 as a denominator. Again, we can divide by 5. So our answer in its simplest form is 3/5, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 5, straightforward subtraction of fractions. A half, and we're going to subtract 2/7. We know we can't do this straight off, so we need to find our common denominator, and we get that by multiplying the two denominators to get 14. On the left, we've multiplied by 7, so multiply the 1 by 7 to give us 7/14. And on the right-hand side, we multiplied by 2, so multiply the numerator by 2 to get 4/14. Now, do the maths. 7 subtract 4 is 3, and the denominator is 14. So our answer in the two boxes is 3/14, and that's for 1 mark. Question 6 is a BIDMAS question. So we need to do the brackets first, and looking at the order of what's in the brackets, we do the multiplication first. So it becomes 8 plus 12, and then we still need to square it. Then do the addition that's still in the brackets. So 8 plus 12 is 20, and then we've got to remember to square it. 20 squared means 20 times 20, which we can do quickly and easily. 2 times 2 is 4, and there are 2 zeros that follow it. So on the answer line, 400, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 7 is asking us what is the value of 3ab when a is 5 and b is 6. If we write it out in full, we have 3 times a times b and then do the substitution. So a is 5 and b is 6. 3 times 5 is 15 and 15 times 6, well, if you can't do it in your head, use a multiplication method, whichever one you prefer, to do the maths. And we end up with 90. So the answer 90 on the answer line is worth 1 mark. Question 8, calculate the size of the angle A. So we know the angles inside a triangle add up to 180. We've already got 80 and 30 given to us, so add those up. So we need to take away 110 from 180, and it leaves us with 70 degrees for 1 mark. The answer on the answer line, 70, the degree symbol's already there, 1 mark. Question 9, 900 plus 1500 divided by 300. So again, we've got a BIDMAS question where we need to do the division first. So 1500 divided by 300. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and the zeros cancel out. So we've now got 900 plus 5, and that gives us 905. So 905 on the answer line for 1 mark. Question 10 is a decimal subtraction question. So write it out clearly so we can see all of the numbers and line up the decimals. And then work from right to left. 8 from 6 doesn't go. Go along until you can borrow one. The 0 has a 9, and this is our one that we've borrowed. 8 from 16 is 8. 3 from 9 is 6. 4 from 1 doesn't go, so borrow a 1. Don't forget the decimal point. 5 from 6 is 1. And again, we need to borrow 1, so 9 from 14 is 5. So 51.768 on the answer line is 1 mark. Question 11. A car can travel 480 miles on a full tank of petrol. The tank holds 60 litres. The fuel gauge shows there are 15 litres left in the tank. How many more miles can the car travel before it runs out of petrol? So what we've got is a relationship between miles and litres. So when the tank's full, we have 60 litres and it does 480 miles. We haven't got 60 litres, we've got 15 litres. So we divide by 60 and it tells us what 1 litre is worth. So 480 divided by 60 is straightforward because 6 goes into 48 8 times. So the car does 8 miles per litre. We've got 15 litres. So multiply both sides by 15. So 8 times 15 will tell us the range. Use whichever method you prefer. So 15 times 8 is 120 miles. So 120 miles is the range with 15 litres, and that goes on the answer line for 1 mark. Question 12. The probability a salesperson will get an order from a visitor to a customer is 1/4. She has 2 visits tomorrow. What is the probability that she will get orders from both visits tomorrow? Give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. So this is an and probability where the probability of the first thing is 1/4 and we multiply. So the probability of the second thing is 1/4, so we multiply the two fractions. 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 4 is 16. So the probability is 1/16 in the boxes for 1 mark. Question 13. This table shows the change in the number of employees in different departments of a company compared to last year. What is the total change in the number of employees compared to last year? So looking at our number line, and we start off at -1, design doesn't change where we are. So we increase by 4 for production, and we end up at positive 3. Then we're going to increase it by 2 for packing, so we end up at positive 5. We're going to reduce 1 by the warehouse, so we end up at 4, and then we're going to subtract another 3 because of marketing, which takes us to 1. So our answer is 1 more, which is B. So tick box B for 1 mark. Question 14. A manager wants to give a pay rise to everyone who is paid less than the average salary. This table shows the annual salaries of employees in the company. And this is the table. Tick all of the employees who are paid less than the median salary. So what we've got to do is find the median. So we need to sort these numbers starting with the lowest. So 15.5, which is MT. So we'll tick it off and we'll go through the list, is 16 for AJ, and carry on ordering them. Then to find the middle amount, we can cross them off at each end. Always make sure you strike 1 for 1. And in this case, we've got an odd number. Just checking. Yep, we've got 9 numbers, so we're expecting 1 in the middle. So the number in the middle is 22. So the median is £22,000. So tick all of the employees who are paid less than this. So we tick AJ, MT, RD, and JR. So there are 4 people in the list we need to tick, and that is worth 1 mark. Question 15, the last question in the section. The distance between 2 villages on a map measures 6 centimetres. The map has a scale of 1 in 25,000. What is the actual distance between the 2 villages in kilometres? Now we know the relationship is centimetres to centimetres, and the map is showing 6 centimetres, so it goes on the left-hand side under the map side. We've multiplied by 6, so we do the same on the right-hand side. Now quickly you can do this by multiplying 4 25s is 100 and another 2 is 50 to get 150,000 centimetres. If you're unsure, do the 25 times 6 and then stick the zeros on. So 6 times 25 gives us a total of 150, and then we stick the zeros on. We've got centimetres and we have 150,000 centimetres. First, we need to convert them into metres by dividing by 100. So knock 2 of the zeros off, gives us 1,500 metres. And then the next step is then to turn them into kilometres by dividing by 1,000. So we can divide by 1,000 by moving the decimal point 3 places to get 1.5 kilometres. So on the answer line, 1.5 kilometres, and that's worth 1 mark. And that's the end of section A to practice paper 6. Now let's look at section B, where we are allowed to use our calculator. We are given 1 hour and 20 minutes to complete this section, and there are 45 marks available. Question 1. It gives us a grid with a load of letters on the grid, and it wants us to answer the question, which point is at 3, 4? So in order to do this, we do the x-axis first, so we go 1, 2, 3 along, and then the 4 is how many we go up, 1, 2, 3, 4. So point B is at the coordinates 3, 4. So tick the box for point B, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 2. It tells us that 1 gallon is equal to 4.546 litres. And they want to know what 10 litres is in gallons approximately. And we've got some options A, B, C and D. So when we're given a conversion, it is the strap line for our ratio. So we have gallons to litres 1 gallon is 4.546 litres. Now, we know that 10 litres lives on this side of our ratio, and to find the scale, in other words, what has 4.546 been multiplied by to give us the 10, we divide the 10 by 4.546. And if we do this on our calculator, we get 2.1997, which is roughly 2.2. So we go back, we multiply the other side of our ratio by 2.2, and it tells us that our 10 litres is equivalent to 2.2 gallons. So the option we want to tick is option B, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 3 is asking us what is the mode of these numbers. So the mode means the most. So what number occurs the most? So looking at this, I can see there are quite a few 125s and a few 155s. So the mode, looking at the numbers, we don't have to sort them or anything, is 125, and that is worth 1 mark. Question 4. Which of the following lists is increasing in order? So we want the lowest to the highest. That's the order we're going for. So for the first one, we have 0.1 and then 0.08. So that can't be right because this is bigger than this. So it can't be A. 0.1013 and 0.0095, again, this is bigger than this, and we need to go from low to high, so it can't be B. For C, 0.0095, well, that is smaller than this, so that's correct. But then this number here, 0.1013, is bigger than this number, so that is not in the correct order. That leaves D, which we'll check anyway. So the smallest number is 0.0095, then 0.0827, and then 0.1013. So the answer for 1 mark is D. So put a tick in box D for your 1 mark. Question 5. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. A sphere has a radius that measures 3 centimeters. Use pi equals 3.142 or pi equals 22/7. Work out the surface area of the sphere to the nearest centimetre squared. So because we've got our calculator, it's probably easier to use pi as a number and just substitute it into our formula. So this means 4 times 3.142 times the radius, which is 3, and that needs to be squared. And we can enter this exactly as it looks into our calculator. And the calculator shows 113.112. So, rounded, it looks to the nearest centimetre like 113 centimetres squared. So the option with 113 centimetres squared is option C, so tick box C for 1 mark. Question 6. A man is going to New York for work. He wants to book a hotel online. A friend says, remember the booking website will show the price in dollars. It will actually cost more pounds than the price shown because of the exchange rate. The man checks the exchange rate because he thinks his friend is wrong. He thinks that the number of pounds will be less than the number of dollars shown. The exchange rates given to us in the box of £1 is $1.24. Who is right, the man or his friend, and explain your answer? Well, because they've given us an exchange rate, we're looking at ratios. So let's draw this as a ratio of pounds to dollars. £1 is $1.24. So by looking at the ratio, we can see that a pound is worth more than a dollar. So for our answer or our explanation, when you compare the two, the man is correct, as the cost will be less than the dollars shown. On the website. And as an example, if we multiply this by 100, then the website would say $124. We'll multiply this by 100, that would be £100. So the £100 is less than the $124 shown on the website. So that explanation is worth 1 mark. Question 7. A newspaper report says that a company made $700,000 profit last year. It says that this was 12% more than the year before. Work out how much profit the company made the year before. So this is a reverse percentage where we're trying to find the original amount and we have the new amount of £700,000. Now, it says it made 12% more, so if this is the 100% amount, then our 12% increase gives us 112%, which is the decimal 1.12. So this means we multiply the original amount by 1.12. So the previous year's amount, all we need to do is divide our £700,000 by 1.12. So let's do that on our calculators. And that is £625,000. So work out how much profit the company made the year before. The profit was £625,000. And that working out and correct answer are worth 3 marks. Question 8. Income tax. Everyone can earn a certain amount of money without paying tax. This is called a personal allowance. They must pay tax on any earnings over this allowance. So the income tax personal allowance for 2018 and 19 was £11,850. This formula gives the amount of income tax a person pays in a year. T equals 0.2 brackets y minus p close brackets, where T is the income tax for the year, Y is the money earned per year, and P is the personal allowance. A caterer earns £1,375 per month. How much income tax will she pay for the year? So we have to put into our formula how much is earned per year. So let's start by multiplying how much she earns per month by the 12 months. So she earns £16,500 per year. So now we can put the numbers into our formula, where the amount of tax to be paid is 0.2 times, and then inside the brackets, Y is the money earned per year, which is 16,500. Take away our personal allowance, which we have here, 11850, and then we close the brackets. So we can put this into our calculator all in one go. And we get 930 on our calculators. So on the answer line, they've already given us the pound sign, the units. It's £930 of tax that needs to be paid. And all of that is worth 4 marks. Question 9. A worker has to set a machine to cut this shape from a piece of metal. and there are various dimensions for this shape. It's asking us what is the area of the shape. Show all of your working out. So we have basically a rectangle with a triangle above it. So the rectangle here is 8 centimeters by the 2.5 centimeters. So that's 20 centimeters squared. So that's nice and straightforward. Now the area of our triangle is the base, which goes from here to here. So if it's 2 centimeters to here and 2 centimeters to there, then that leaves 4 centimeters as our base. The height we've been given here as 3 centimeters. So the area of our triangle is 4 times 3, which is 12. Don't forget to divide it by 2 because it's a triangle, which is 6 centimeters squared. So our total area for our shape is the 20 centimeters for the rectangle plus the 6 for the triangle, giving us 26 centimeters squared. So on the answer line, it's given us the units, so just 26 centimeters squared, and that's all worth 4 marks. Question 10. A photographer increases the price he charges to print photographs. He wants to know if this affects his sales. Last week, before the price increase, the average number of photos ordered was 12. This week, customers ordered, and then there's a table of the orders. Does the price increase seem to have had an effect on the number of prints ordered per customer? Explain your answer. Include calculations to support your decision. In order to count our mean from our grouped data, we need the midpoint of these numbers. So the midpoint between 1 and 10 is 5.5. The midpoint between 11 and 20 is 15.5, and so on. So to calculate the total number of customers, we need to multiply our midpoint by the number of customers and create a total in this area to the right. And now we need the sum of our customers and the sum of their photos ordered. So there were 50 customers and 655 photos ordered by those customers. So to find our mean, in other words our average, we have 655 photographs ordered by 50 customers, gives us a mean of 13.1 photos per customer. So to answer the question, does the price increase seem to have affected the number of prints ordered by customers? We can say no, as it is more than before the price increase. And for the working out and the explanation and decision, there are 4 marks. Question 11. This table shows how much a garage pays its staff. So the pay rates, working day and rates, Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So Monday to Friday it's a normal rate, Saturday and Sunday 1.25 times the normal rate. Last week a mechanic worked 7.5 hours each day from Monday to Saturday. He did not work on Sunday. If her normal rate of pay is £10.80 an hour, work out her total pay for last week. So from Monday to Friday, so that's 5 days at 7.5 hours on our calculator, that's a total of 37.5 hours at a rate of £10.80. So that's £405 Monday to Friday. On Saturday, we have 7.5 hours, and at £10.80 on a normal day would have given her £81. But as it's a Saturday, we get 1.25 times the normal rate, so multiply it by 1.25 or 1.25, whichever you prefer, and she gets £101 and 25 pence. So the total for that particular week, we add the two amounts, and she should receive pay of £506 and 25 pence. So on the answer line, £506 and 25 pence. The last part of the question asks us to use approximation to check your answer. So the quickest and easiest way to do this is if we round her number of hours a day at 8 and multiply it by a rounded amount, which is £10 an hour, so that's £80 a day. So if she does 6 days this week from Monday to Saturday, 6 8s are 48 with a 0 at the end. So our approximation would give us £480 for the week. So question 11 is worth 4 marks, 3 marks for calculating her wage and 1 mark for the approximate check. Question 12. A woman applies for a new job that pays £8.50 a week more after tax. She will work 5 days a week and drive to work, as she does in her job now. The new job is 6 miles further from her house. Her car travels 8.5 miles per litre of petrol, and petrol costs £1.26 per litre. Will the woman be better off with the new job after she takes the petrol into consideration? Explain your answer and include calculations to support your decision. So we know that she gets £8.50 a week more, so what we need to do is we need to work out how much the extra petrol will cost for that week. So her car travels at 8.5 miles per litre. So the new job is 6 miles further from her house. So if it's 6 miles further, that is 12 miles a day more that she needs to drive. And over the 5 days, that's 60 miles extra a week. So now we've worked that out, we can put the 60 miles under the miles side of our ratio and work out how many litres she uses in a week. So 60 divided by 8.5 gives us our scale, which is 7.0588, and I've rounded that to 4 decimal places. So we use that on the other side, and she uses 7.0588 litres extra. So we take that number and multiply it by the £1.26 per litre, because that was the number of litres she uses extra in a week. And she has £8.894 to pay for that 7 litres. So the £8.50 is actually less than the £8.89 it's going to cost her in petrol. So our decision on whether she's better off or not is no, she is not, as the petrol costs are more than the pay rise. And all of that working out and explanation is worth 4 marks. Question 13. Your boss needs to make some travel arrangements for him. He will travel to Hull 4 days every week for the next 6 months. That's 26 weeks. He needs to arrive at Hull at 8:30 in the morning and catch the train home at 5 o'clock each day. And here's our train ticket price information below. Which ticket type do you recommend? Now it says at the bottom here, off-peak tickets are not valid for travel between 7 and 9 or between 3 and 7. So we can't buy the off-peak tickets because of the times he needs to get to and from Hull. So let's look at a day return for the 6 months. So if it's £8 for a day return, and he does this 4 days a week, that's £32 per week. And if we multiply that by the 26 weeks, it tells us how much it's going to cost for the 6 months he needs to travel, which is £832. The season tickets are valid for 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. So the 1 year one is already too expensive. So let's work out the cost of the monthly ticket. So if he's going to be working for 6 months, it's £113.70 times the 6 months he needs to travel, which is £682.20. Finally, let's just check the weekly ticket. So at £29.60, he's going to travel for 26 weeks. And that works out at £769.60. So what type of ticket would you recommend? Well, our cheapest one is the monthly season ticket. And explain your reasons, including the figures and calculations. Well, the figures and calculations are up at the top, and the explanation is he has to travel at peak times, so the choices were limited. And the monthly season ticket worked out cheapest. And for the calculations, the recommendation and the explanation, that is worth 5 marks. Question 14. A company has made some changes to the way its employees work. The manager wants to know if these changes have made any difference to the number of days employees take off work because of illness. She can't just compare the total days, as there are fewer people working in each department after the changes. She gives you this information about the employees in one department. And here we have 2 tables with the information we need. Did the changes make any difference to the average number of days that employees took off sick? Explain your findings to the manager and show calculations to support your explanation. So the question is giving us a choice of what average we want to use. So looking at this information in the tables, probably the quickest and easiest calculation to go for, and I always recommend going for it, is the mean. So let's just calculate the sum of the 2 tables. So add up each of the columns and then add the columns together. Then we're going to divide by the number of bits of data that we have. So the sum before the changes, just add these totals, is 180 days. Let's do the other columns. And then add the total number of days taken after the change. Now we've already been given a warning that there are a different number of amounts of data, so let's calculate the mean for each. So the mean before the change is 180 days divided by 5 by 4, 20 sets of information. So the mean is 9 days before the change. The mean after the change is the total 105 days, but this time we have 15 bits of data, which is 7 days. So to answer the question, did the changes make any difference to the average number of days the employees took off sick? Yes, it has reduced it from 9 to 7 days. And for your calculations of your means and your decision, then that is worth 5 marks. Question 15. A cafe owner wants to know how many cold drinks she is likely to sell next week. She makes a record of the sales of drinks over the last 2 weeks, and here is a table with those temperatures and the number of drinks. She wants to use this information to see if she can predict the number of cold drinks she is likely to sell based on the temperature forecast for a particular day. Use the graph paper to show clearly the data she has collected in a way that will help her to do this. And there's some space for working out. So really, to compare things, they're asking us to plot a scatter graph from scratch. So the scatter graph needs a title, axis labels with the cold drinks plotted against the temperatures. Plot the data, and then we can draw our line of best fit to give her a forecast on a particular day. So here's a scatter graph that I drew earlier. So you need a title, you need axis labels, so drinks sold and temperature. The temperature goes across the bottom using the most of the scale, and drinks go up the side. In this particular example, they've not used 0 as the start point, so they've used 20 for the drinks and 15 for the temperature. They've got their points that they've plotted from the data they were given, and then they've drawn the line of best fit. So all of that is going to be worth 5 marks. The last part of the question at the bottom of the page states that the weather forecast for the next week says it will be 21 degrees C on Monday. What can you tell the cafe owner about how many drinks the cafe is likely to sell on the Monday? Show clearly on your graph paper how you found your answer. So we need to go back to our graph paper and plot up from 21 degrees till we hit a line of best fit, and this will tell us roughly how many drinks we're going to sell. So using a ruler from 21 degrees, plot up till you hit the line of best fit, and then from the line of best fit, go across, and it's approximately 33 drinks. So we can go back and answer the last part of our question. So we can tell the cafe owner you would expect to sell 33 drinks on the Monday based on the temperature of 21 degrees. And that's your extra mark, giving you a total for question 15 of 6 marks. And that's the last question. That's the end of section B for practice paper 6. I hope this video has been of some help to you. Thank you for watching.